for our video, so
Okay, thanks for the news.
just want to make sure.
Appreciate the update.
I don't think my kids will put me in a nursing home.
Yeah?
I mean, if they do, well, I mean, less money that they get at the end.
How's school?
Wasn't good one today. I like it. School is good. I just finished my quarter.
All right, cannolis.
96%. I got a 4.0 right now.
All right,
Don't jinx that, please.
I'm not gonna.
I'm actually trying really hard this time.
Well, good. I'm all in favor.
Maybe it has something to do with the fact you paid your own tuition?
Well, my last master's I did too, but I didn't try as hard. I had a
Older and
three-
wiser.
Yeah, I had a 3.7, but I know if you get a 4.0, you can stay high, you can get more scholarships, so that's what I'm trying hard.
Yeah.
There you go. Where you go to school?
Walden University.
We're almost there.
Where's
I got 6
o'clock?
o'clock.
Well, we have 6 o'clock. All right, I'd like to call the Curriculum Instruction Committee to order. And the first item on the agenda is the robotics field trip to Lake Superior Regional.
Get it, so I believe they're going up to Duluth for that one. Late February, early March should be gorgeous weather for them. If you've ever been in Duluth, if they have to get up that hill, they're in trouble.
Oh, my God.
But it's really, there's 2 field trips and we'll take them one at a time, but if you haven't seen the Red Raider Robotics and what those kids do, it's the coolest thing. And a lot of times they'll broadcast it on YouTube or something, and, but maybe we'll get them in here with their robot at some point. It's really neat, and it is really applicable to the workforce and what so many of our local businesses want to see kids doing that. It's just a great thing. It's one of those things that I saw start in this district and just take off and explode. So really great stuff. They're going up to Duluth.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to see them, and what's really cool is if you go to an event where they're presenting, you can talk to the kids, and they are just so bright, and so glad to have someone talk to them about what they're doing, that they make it exciting even for a retired English teacher, so.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with them, very much so.
And there was the article about the all-girls team
Mm-hmm.
and the twist. I mean, that was
Yeah, they do neat,
pretty nice.
neat stuff, so.
Absolutely.
I have a question.
Yes, dear.
Thank you. So, how many students in this program are going on into that field or have a job set up at the end? How many?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I think there's 50 kids going on that field trip. And we could look into that. There's so much that we do in that realm now with Project Lead the Way from a engineering standpoint,
Yeah.
and even with our Lakeland credits and things of that nature, that pathway and that opportunity for kids is just amazing. And then that engineering piece is just exploded too, from what engineering used to be. Now it's more of a software engineering, and it's how are we programming things, so then it bleeds over into the business ed, the computer sciences. That it's just, that realm is just, it's huge. If kids aren't doing that, they're missing out, and that was really the point of having you guys do the Lego stuff the other day. Like, that's how kids get interested in it, right? So my kids are kindergarten doing that in our summer school program. That's how they're learning to code, that's how they're learning to build these miniature ones. And they get to high school and they're in middle school too, and they're doing these just amazing things. So it's cool. It's a really great thing.
Well, as a parent of an engineer who went through all this, she really appreciates what the district did to get her started. I mean, she's very successful, and a lot of it started with this kind of thing. All right, do we have a motion
So
to
moved.
approve the field trip?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairs. Aye, motion passes. Next field trip, also the robotics kids. And this time they are going to Milwaukee.
You got it. They turn around and go back up to Milwaukee in the middle of March.
We have a motion to approve the Milwaukee trip.
So move.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Number 3, Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, Stronger Communities Grant. Mr. Conrad and Mr. Liederman.
Yeah, Jason's gonna talk about a grant that he's pursuing here, and I would just thank Jason. His job is nearly impossible. The amount of time and hours that he puts in on behalf of our special ed students is absolutely astonishing. No one works harder than Jason and cares more about those kids. And then he turns around and decides he's gonna find extra time to write a grant to help our kids even more, so. Great opportunity that he's gonna tell you about, and Jason, thanks so much for taking the time to do the grant.
Thanks, Jake. All right, so this evening I want to provide information and with possible potential action and approval for the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, Stronger Communities Grant. So this grant is a DPI supported grant, and the purpose of this grant is to support eligible school districts, and we are one of the little over 300 school districts that would be eligible for this grant. We meet that criteria. And really the purpose of this is to really establish safe and healthy supportive learning environments for our students. This grant can be up to $400,000, so we're seeking maximum amount for this grant. So districts that are awarded this grant can utilize these funds to implement comprehensive evidence-based strategies to support social and emotional learning, their overall emotional and physical well-being of our students. And our focus of the grant is really that emotional well-being of our students. Districts participating in this grant, part of that is to really engage in all parties, so from your students to your staff to your parents. And really the area we really spent a lot of time with this grant is including our community. We're very fortunate within our Sheboygan County community to have so many different resources that can help support the mental well-being of our students. So this grant, which I'm going to speak a little bit on, is just really the strategies that we're looking for. This grant is going to be, you're going to hear about some partnerships that we want to add to or continue with, and then really to establish. So we were able to show the need of this by just using a lot of our data within our district, from our best universal screeners to Panorama, to our attendance, to discipline referrals, a number of things that we've added to showing the need. And we definitely have a need. We have a little over 200 students currently in the PATH program with a waiting list of about 125. So there's a gap. There is a gap for needs for our students. So we feel this grant can help fill some of that gap. So we're looking at, like I mentioned, 3 strategies that we're looking towards with this grant that I wanted to share with you. The first one is a partnership with the production farm. If you're not familiar with the production farm is a mental and behavioral health clinic that's located in Sheboygan Falls. They have a site also in Manitowoc County. They just have established their site here in Sheboygan County at Sheboygan Falls in the past year. They're a little bit unique in how they provide their mental and behavioral health therapy. It's not that traditional that you would see where it's an office, you're sitting down. It's really geared to a lot of individual students where their therapy is around areas. They start with where they have students of interest, where their interest is. So it would be therapy. They have music rooms. They have they would do it when kids are fishing. They've got cooking. So it's a little bit unique in how they provide their therapy, and they've seen some great success, and we've seen some success with our students already working out of there. So we want to really build a partnership with them and working in 3 different areas. One area is a one-on-one support of students. So the students that where maybe that PATH program is really not enough, where that PATH program is once a week, where we have students that needing more intense support, and they're not able to get that through family or through the county very often. So this is an area that we feel there's a need for that. Also students with an IEP that our staff do an excellent job, our special ed staff, but students are sometimes needing more. So this would be an area that would help provide that service, that one-on-one support for those students needing that intensive support. Also, the next area is just that more of an emotional regulation, more of a small group focus. So students, about 5 in a group. We currently are already doing that through some of our students where they're going to the production farm. And really, they're working on a specific skill, about 8 to 10 sessions once a week, and then bringing that back in the classroom. So that's something we want to expand upon with this grant. And then another area with the partnership of the production farm is more skill building, and we're really focusing at the elementary level where it's like a classroom-based support. So for an example, maybe a classroom, let's give an example, let's say at James Madison, their teacher is seeing that there is maybe an area that they want to work on from an entire class on team building activities, maybe it's conflict and interpersonal skills, that they want to just provide it universally. Production farm, they'll have staff that'll come in once a week with that, work with that entire class on that skill building, so more of a universal support. So those are the areas that we want to partner with the production farm as one of those strategies. A second strategy is really a continuation of the PATH program. And it's really a family engagement area. So many of our students that are getting that PATH support, to really help them go to that next step, very often there is a family or a parent portion of that that is needed for a therapy. So this would, where Lakeshore Community Healthcare would adding a half-time staff member or half-time of their responsibility would be really more of that family therapy. So students currently in PATH, they identify, hey, we need that parent aspect of that to join in. So really supporting more of a parent and family therapy for those individual students of that need. And then the third area that we want to focus on this is really about student advocacy and leadership. So the program we're looking at is called Sources of Strength. It's an evidence-based youth mental health promotion and suicide prevention program. It's for 6th through 12th grade. It's really about peer social networks and developing that and creating some healthy norms and cultures and providing more proactive factors and resiliency, increasing students' sense of belonging, and really looking at preventing of suicide, violence, and bullying. So those are the 3 areas that we want to focus with this grant, and that primarily those dollars are going to be, of this grant would go to that. Some of the just other details of this grant, the due date of that is November 15th, so right around the corner. We would find out if this grant is approved through DPI at the beginning of February, around February 1st. We would use the rest of this school year to really solidify the planning of it and looking to implement the fall of 2024. The grant dollars run all the way until September of 2026, so it's a 2-year grant. Again, we feel we have a really strong application going forward with this. One other item with this, just because this is a bipartisan grant, part of the requirements of this grant is I had to communicate with the parochial schools within our community, within the Sheboygan community, and give them information of the grant. If they choose to, they can take part in that grant. 6 out of the 7 schools are participating in the grant, and they don't have to follow our strategies that we implemented, but they get the dollars, and it comes to about 10% of that $400,000 goes to our parochial schools as part of that grant. So again, wanted to provide you information of this, and then also hopefully seek action and approval for this grant application. Any questions? Yeah.
So is this taking them out of the school with the farm program? Like, are they going to be on a farm?
Yeah.
And doing?
It's a great question. Their Manitowoc site does have farming as part of their therapy. Not in Sheboygan. There's no farming involved with that. It's just the name of it. It's called the production farm. But for some students, yes, it is off-site. For that one-on-one, very often would be off-site at their location. With that small group that we currently have going to Sheboygan Falls, we provide this transportation for those individual students to get there and transport back. There's students in some of our behavioral special ed programming, teen shift change would be some of those students that are currently going there. Yep.
So, Lakeshore Community Health will have a part-timer here, 4.5 FTE. So is the district gonna take the other half, or is it just?
No, yeah, that's a great question, Cynthia. So they're gonna hire an additional therapist. Half of their time will be providing that path individual therapy. The other half of the responsibility, which we will help fund through this grant, will be that family therapy.
Thank you.
Thank Kristen when you see her. She's continues to just be an amazing partner for us and providing those services for our kids. It's unreal.
Sounds terrific.
Any other questions?
I have one more.
Yeah.
What happens after the 2 years?
Gosh, great question. I mean, the funding would end after that time. I think we've, over the years, we have, from a district standpoint, we've been very aggressive on locating dollars through different grants that we continue to provide services for our students. So after these 2 years, if there's not a continuation of this grant, we will be very aggressive in continuing with these programs that we see that are successful and seeking out grants for those.
Are we still in the situation, I know we discussed this a little while ago, about, we had money and we wanted to hire more therapists or counselors or whatever, we just couldn't hire people, if they weren't enough licensed people coming through?
Yeah, through the path with Lakeshore Community Healthcare, they have been adding more therapists, so they've been pretty aggressive with that. As far as working with Lakeland College, actually, one of their therapists is a adjunct professor there, so in that program, so I think they provide that connection. And it's building, still a need, still definitely a need in our community, but it is building.
Yeah, she found a nice pipeline there.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Sounds great. All right, next we have Lexia reading update. Ms. Ramsey, welcome to the table.
It's working for you. All right, Jim's gonna give a quick update on Lexia, which is obviously our reading program that we use at the elementary and middle school levels.
Yes.
And they'll give you a little bit of the data and how we're doing so far.
Yeah, thank you for the time. First, I just want to thank the teachers and the principals who built these structures over the last 3 years to make this program be successful. Just a quick reminder, the program is used for Lexia Core 5 we use in kindergarten through 5th grade, and then Power Up we use in middle school, and some in our interventions in North and South High School. So that program is designed for students to work at their level and meet a certain amount of minutes based on a auto placement, and then it provides teachers with ongoing data, and then the teachers can use that data to either, if students are struggling with a concept, provide a lesson, or provide reinforcement with the skill builders. And then we have that data, again, as students progress, to be able to see how they're moving through the program. So I just wanted to share a quick update with how we ended last year and some of the progress we're making this year. In Core 5, the kindergarten through 5th grade program that we use, we set goals with the help of Lexia. They helped provide us with quarterly metrics meetings, so they meet with all of our principals and some building teams that will meet and talk about where we're at in our data and get support throughout the year. We set these 3 goals where we wanted 60% of our students to meet usage minutes. So when students take a placement test, they're given a certain amount of minutes to meet their goal. And the goal is to have students meet 50% of the time based on, they might need support with those lessons, or we might not have school, those types of things. So that's one of their fidelity markers. And last year we hit that goal at 62%. Then we also set goals for progress and growth. So we looked at when students take that placement test, they might be placed in below grade level material. Well, obviously our goal is to help our students progress and grow. So we set a goal of have 80% of our students who start in that below grade level material grow 1 or more levels. And last year we had 85% of the students hit that mark. And then we also said, well, if we have students that are in that below grade level material, our goal is to get them up to grade level material in the program. And we said we want at least 50% of our students, and we were able to have 57% last year. So I think in working with Lexia, I think they're saying that these results are strong, and we're happy in our buildings when we see that growth. I think they share a number of different reports with us, and I pulled a few images from the reports. And this is one I think that really just stands out, because they break down, they call it the closing the gap, but they break down for students who start at 1, 2, and 3 grade levels below, and the darker the purple, the more they are in grade levels. So in the 3 grade levels or below, you can see that third one, 48% of the students who started 3 grade levels below, they moved up 5 or more levels. So I think that really in itself helps tell a pretty good story. And then they talk about the number of students on the right column, and you can see we had about 1,000 students 2 grade levels or below, and they grew anywhere between 3 to 5 levels. So again, some nice work, and again, it goes back to those structures our buildings have put in place and the incentives that they help provide with students and student goal setting that they set up. They also shared through Core 5 some longitudinal data, which I thought would be interesting. So we're in the 3rd year of 4-year licensing that we purchased with Lexia. And 78% of the students have at least grown 2 levels, and we average about 2.2 grade levels of growth. I think the one piece I think that's really important that we stress with our buildings is that bottom sub-bullet where it said students are using the program with fidelity, who are meeting the minutes, who are getting the lessons, who are getting the support. 93% of those students are hitting skills at or above grade level. So again, trying to make sure we find that time for our students to work on the program, but also support them with the lessons when they're struggling has been really helpful to our students. And I just wanted to share our goals for this year are similar. We moved them up a little bit. Obviously, we have some new students with kindergarten in the mix and students moving forward, so we wanted to move our usage totals up to 62%, knowing the more fidelity we have in the program, the better results we have. We're still aiming for that 4 or more grade levels. That's really growth of 4 or more levels is really an area where we're right on hitting the last 2 or 3 years. And then again, looking at having our students who are below grade level really moving up to closer to grade level and bumping that bottom number up to 55% of those students who are below grade level, but we want to move them into grade level material. And then just a quick snapshot of where we are now. We're only 2 months into this year, but we're seeing consistent data again and some good progress. So that we have 66% of our students are hitting their usage targets, so above where our goal is. And one of the things I've noticed over the last 2 years is that once we get established in the program, that number doesn't fluctuate a whole lot. So when we're at 66% of our students right now in November, we're going to be pretty consistent, or maybe even grow a little bit throughout the year. But the top bar graph shows that we've already had 12% of our students who took the placement test, started material that's below grade level, and they've moved into grade level or above. So we're already in a short amount of time seeing growth. And then we have students who are meeting those usage targets. They're averaging 5 skills or a little bit more than 1 level of growth. So we're continuing to see that growth when they're using the program. So again, we're seeing great results, and in our elementary schools, they're doing a lot of work to set goals, have students be wary of where they are, have teachers monitoring their progress. And the nice piece is this really, the Core 5 really matches a lot of the professional development we're doing around reading and literacy instruction. So it's really helping to pair with a lot of the professional development that we're using. So it's helping our teachers understand more too of what students need. Okay.
When you're looking at the 66% meeting the usage target, how much of the time they're expected to use the program is at school versus at home?
We rarely have students take it home to
It's
do.
all at school.
And a lot of that's, even in the summer, a lot of that is Lexia recommends that because they want students to be able to be working on it in school and then being able to get the support they need and not working on it, being at home and working on it too long, because there is kind of, they say like we shouldn't be going way over the minutes. There's kind of a optimal range of time. So they really say, it's good to use it right in school where you have that support in that time. But again, the usage targets are different for every student. Your usage might be 40 minutes a week to get to your target, whereas mine might be 100 minutes. So in some cases, students might not meet that target, not because they're not using the program, but because they might have more minutes that they need. So sometimes we have to find extra time for them. And then the middle school data, we have the middle school program Power Up's a little different. It focuses on 3 areas: word study, grammar, and comprehension. And when students take a placement test, they're placed into a foundational, intermediate, and then above category based on their scores. And in that case, we set a goal last year. We said if students are placed in that foundational or the lower level, we want to really focus on honing in on those students to move them up. We said we want at least 95% of our students in at least the intermediate or above. And you can see our comprehension, we hit the target, and word study and grammar were a little bit below. Again, to Kay's point, our middle schools have a structure in place for time, but it's really about 30 minutes a day. So when we need 30 minutes, we get 30 minutes a day, we might also need lesson support or reinforcement. So sometimes the usage, we might not make those usage minutes, but we're getting that support we need in that intervention or the win time. But still very close to the goal. Grammar is always one where students probably do last and are also probably most challenged. I know I was in a few 8th grade classrooms, and some of the things that were popping up for students were pretty surprising things that grammar-wise that seemed to be pretty high level. So it's rigorous as well, which is, I think is a great piece of the tool. Just another graph from Lexia to kind of put last year's data in perspective. So I really look at the word study. When you look at the blue, light blue and the darker blue, those are the students that are in the intermediate or above, where we want students to be. And you can see comparatively where they started the year on the left side of the graph, where they're on the right, we had a lot of growth, which again, if we're not hitting that 95%, I think we're still doing a lot of great things to get students moving forward and filling some of those gaps. And then just the last piece, we kept our goal the same for middle school, really trying to focus on those students who start in the foundational and moving them forward with the lessons and some of the reinforcement pieces. You can see on the left is where we were on November 16th, and on the right in print is where we started. So in word study, we started with 47% of the students in foundational skills, and right now, or last week, we've already decreased that to 17%. So 30% of the students have moved up already. So same thing again, grammar is a little lagging, and then comprehension again is another one that's a stronger area, where we started with 27% in the foundational, we only have 16. So again, all of it is testament to our schools and the structures they set up. A great example is I was at Farnsworth a few weeks ago, and in their 6th grade, they've actually set up their win time where they have multiple teachers working with small groups. So they're really targeting those foundational skill students, pulling the lessons and targeting those areas where they can pull the data from. And one of the areas where I just looked before in word study, they've decreased their percentage of foundational by 30%, just from that intentional work. So again, it's a little different approach in the win. It's not just students going on a computer and doing work. It's teachers really looking at where are students at and what do they need and provide those lessons.
Any other questions for Jim?
So, if a student moves up 5 levels, how is a level defined?
A level is defined by the number of, in core 5, there's a number of units.
Okay.
And they say about 4 levels is about a grade level worth of growth. So that's why we say we want at least 4 levels or more of growth. So we're at least growing at 1 year's worth.
Okay. Is part of this teaching kids or training kids how to take standardized tests?
No, because really it's interactive and it's personalized. So a lot of the pieces are they'll come up as maybe I don't want to say gamified because it's not really that, but it comes up as words pop up and they might have to click on a letter to say here's the letter A at a lower level.
Okay.
So it's not really a standardized test. It's more interactive.
No, it's just, I mean, it seems like the results here are pretty powerful. And you just wonder how that translates to, how those skills that are built in this powerful program translate to being able to succeed
Yeah.
in.
And we have asked, we've been trying to work with Lexia, and they've actually asked us as well to try to dive into a little bit more of some comparative data.
Mhm.
And just anecdotally, I looked at some of our core 5 classes that had very high usage and high growth in the program, and tried to correlate it with STAR.
Mhm.
And even in a grade level where, let's say, 3rd grade, 2 classes had 60% usage and good growth, but maybe another grade for some reason only had 30% usage. When I looked at their STAR scores, their growth was higher in those areas that had higher use
Okay.
of the program. We're working with them to try to see, can we work together to pull some of the data that they have on us over the 2 years,
Sure.
3 years, and compare it to some of our
Sure.
standardized, either our forward or our STAR data. But
And then, it seems to me the stuff I've read about the new phonics instruction, will these kind of fit together, or?
yes, yeah, the core 5 are those 5 areas of literacy, the phonics, phonemic awareness, structural
Okay.
analysis, fluency, and comprehension. Those pieces are what the program is saying. When I take the placement test, I need more support in structural analysis,
Okay.
so I'll get more work there. So it really pairs very well.
Okay, great.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
And our last item is the class size report.
Got it. So I think the best thing we can probably do on this report is just look at the 5th page. And that just kind of gives a summary of what classes are over our policy. That's always the concern, and we made strides this year, for sure. I think we were just, sometimes the numbers really just shake out better when you're doing staffing, and that happened this year. So in grade 1, we went from 21 to 13, kindergarten 7 to 2, grade 2 9 to 6, grade 3 we were up a little bit to 4 classes, grade 4 we were down from 3 to none, and then 5th grade 6 to 3. Middle school ticked up a little bit at Urban, and the middle schools are a little tricky right now because we have smaller classes coming in, so we're trying to adjust for that through attrition and through retirements rather than having to upset people's worlds or do layoffs or anything like that. So that's how those numbers shook up, and they were up from 32 to 38. You could see that Horseman and Farnsworth fared well. Urban was a little higher than we'd like to see. And then North, really, I think they did a really nice job scheduling this year. When I look at their master schedule, they just got kids in the right places at the right time, and that's such a game to play on their end. So overall, better than last year. We're trending in the right direction here. Class size is always one of those things, I think. Boards sometimes have a hard time wrapping their head around that research, right? There's a lot of research that says class size doesn't matter, and anyone that's ever taught knows that class size matters. It's just really hard to get at that. 30 kids who are motivated to learn and come to school healthy, happy every single day, not such a big deal. 30 kids who come to school and they have a lot of barriers and they need a lot of assistance. It's just a different world for a teacher, right? So that's why we have our title, that's why we have our AGR, that's why you see low class sizes in some places, in some grades compared to other schools. And overall, that's how it shakes out, but feeling pretty good about the report this year.
Is there a reason why South is not listed?
Yeah, there's just no, so the page above there, South is listed, and there just isn't a way to do it because of how they do FlexMod. So they just have large, medium, small, and discussion groups, and that's how we decided as a board we were gonna report out their class sizes when they went to FlexMod, because it's so different. It looks different every single day if they're meeting in a large group or in a small group or in a discussion.
Even in a math class where they stripe, you know?
Yeah, we just don't do it. We could certainly alter the report. That's just how we kinda had this discussion a few years ago, and that's what the board wanted for South, but, it's a tricky school to put class size to.
Any questions? Concerns? Okay, thank you very much.
You got it.
Thank you, Jake.
Sounds good.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
And Wayne.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tonight, the administration would like to recommend that it be authorized to enter into a contract for the replacement of 93 of the district's original cameras that were purchased. These are all but 2 of them are exterior cameras. These were purchased in 2013. And being outdoor cameras, they have degraded quite a bit over the 10 years that we've had them out there. So we did put out for bid and did receive 4 responses, with Camera Corner being the winning bid. Again, Camera Corner is a vendor that we have worked with throughout our video surveillance time.
Now, if I remember right, a lot of these cameras were put in as part of the referendum that we had. 'Cause I think that
That's
was about 10
correct,
years
yeah,
ago,
that's
so-
the early ones.
And Camera Corner is one that we've used quite
Yes, they have
extensively
been
for this exact kind of thing, so.
Correct.
I will, unless there's any other questions, I will take a motion to accept the bid of Camera Corner.
So moved.
So,
And, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the bid is accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. And next, John.
Good evening, everyone, and just,
Good evening.
with what Wayne does, it's already come in so handy with the video
Mm-hmm.
cameras, because we're in the building second shift with practices and things like that, and kids are kind of maybe running where they shouldn't be, and it's amazing how many naughty students we catch with these
Mhm.
cameras, so they're
Yeah.
very handy at helping the custodians and the administration and us do our job in the building. So I just wanted to give a kudos out to the, much as I don't love 700 cameras in the district, they're very handy when when the buildings are being fully utilized, so, in favor.
Thank you, John.
All right. So, you received in your board packet the executive summary. It's that annual time of year that we ask for some of those funds. So the highlights from there is I go through my, on the executive summary, we're looking at our budget being $2,346,000, current fund balance $876. We're looking at $226,000. Kind of like to do this is the high level report, and then I break it down a little bit into the areas where we're doing it, and then that takes you into the attachment that is the Excel sheet. So if there's no questions on the executive summary, then we move right into, I like to look at the 3 windows, the past years, and then I like to look at the current year, what we're asking for, and then the 5-year lookout, so you can see what's coming. And then how we work with facilities a little bit is now on the bottom of that document, below what we asked for in orange, if it comes up in orange in color in your attachments. So, my notables for what we're requesting for, soccer fields, just like everything else, the goals, the nets, the fertilizer, field marking paint, everything's increased significantly. So those are what we do, so we're asking for some additional monies for those. We did, if you've been to Field of Dreams, that's gonna be a 3-phase project. We put up the first phase, about $50,000 worth. It's behind the baseball fields. Our next phase is to remove the current structures on the far north side and replace that in 2 $50,000 more increments. You really don't get much in $50,000 of playground equipment, even though it seems like a lot of money. So the current plan is to eventually have all new equipment in 3 years at Field of Dreams. I've received some positive feedback on the current playground also. And then that sort of ties into the bottom where Joe and his department have put in the sound storage booths and sidewalk at Field of Dreams also. They're all about 90% complete, and then also the sound storage booth at the Horace Mann. So those are not money we're requesting, but facilities is also investing in district improvements. If you look in the maintenance section, it is like the 3rd section. One of our trucks is due. We try to replace them every 12 to 15 years, and there's a common theme tonight. Everything goes up. The average cost of a new truck with all the bells and whistles is almost $65,000 to $70,000. I never thought I'd say that to buy a new vehicle, but that is the cost. And then our others, a couple of our signs were vandalized with our old logo, so that really incentivized me to replace them. So we're still getting our old logo, if you remember what that looked like, and upgrading those. And then we are also asking for some money for the fitness center equipment, which I heard the referendum, that is also, a lot of that was bought with referendum money when we put in the field houses, so that equipment is definitely showing its age. And it is very costly to replace cardio and weight equipment. So that's my quick summary of the executive summary and the the Excel sheet.
Any questions? Yeah, Mary Lynn.
Is there any concern that your fund balance is at 28%, which is 8% over the max, at least as far as I'm reading?
I thought we put that in there, that is the recommended, it is above the 28%. The district policy says we're supposed to keep it between 15 and 20. So in the 4th line where it's gonna, after we, if you approve the 226, it'll go down to 650, which is still 28%, about
Right.
8% higher than what is recommended by.
That's my question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that a concern?
It is not a concern. It seems to it's ebbed and flown over these years. So I think that the rec department has done a really good job. We have not had a budget increase except for the middle school athletics in 25 years. So we are still operating with the same budget that the rec department did 25 years ago. So I think that is something to really hang our hat on financially. And then we also are buying new equipment and replacing playgrounds and are putting turf fields in, obviously with a blended district. But no, to answer your question.
Okay.
I'm wondering too, that as part of, because I know it's been, it's been ebbing and flowing, it's been consistently high, for some time. Looking at, some of these items, like you've got 50,000 this year and 50,000 next year for South High's baseball field. Could we potentially do it all, in 1 year to help bring that balance a little bit closer to the 20% maximum? Or even some smaller items like Wilson, West East, and Keeney Court, would that potentially be done in the same year?
I mean, it's something to think about.
Yes, absolutely,
Because if
100% yes. And I always feel like I'm always asking for too much.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the perfect balance is,
Okay.
but I would never be against spending more money this year to get some of those projects moved up and achieved and accomplished sooner. But I always feel like, geez, I'm asking for almost $250,000. That seems like so much money.
But you are at 28%.
Right, yes,
instead of 20, so.
yes, yep.
Is there something that could potentially go wrong that you feel the need to keep that much on the side, otherwise, if there are beneficial programs or things that we could do for the kids right now and we have the money.
Right,
Sure, why
we
not?
are, we have talked about the ESSER money, if there's not enough to cover that program this year, that is gonna be a significant expense coming. So we are, that is in the back of our minds.
Okay.
That makes sense then.
Those are the things I'm wondering about.
Yes,
Are you
so those
saving
are some of
or
the things that internally we're like, if that comes up, we would need that money. But if, I would be in favor of getting it closer to the 20%. If we never have to have a levy increase, I think that's good budgeting, but is it? I don't know what the magic answer is.
Well, I
to
think
that.
Mark obviously has, you know.
Right,
strong
Mark,
hand in that.
and we can always ask, so we can come back in 2 months and ask for 50,000 more. It isn't an annual ask, so I don't wanna be misrepresent what I'm asking for. So if we need another truck, if a truck goes down,
Yeah.
we can come back and ask for another truck in January, February, March. We can do it all throughout the fiscal year. So we've just always sort of, I guess, bundled it.
And Santino, you got your hand raised.
Yeah, I was thinking, obviously, this money is designated, would it be best for you to go back to the leadership to figure out what can be done now and repropose it, or do we move on with your proposal, as you said, and then they can add on later?
Well, in my view, I mean, the interesting thing is that, as I read the chart, and I may or may not have this right, but in, you know, the following year, your request is really modest, and then the year after that is not so modest. And, so, I mean, there's no need to do something that you don't need to do. I mean, that's
Agreed.
really
Mhm.
clear. And then, just conceptually, we may wanna figure out, you know, where this fund balance is at and whether it could be used in another area. But those are things I would certainly defer to Mark
Mhm.
on, so.
That's really difficult because the rec department money is by and large segregated by the state. You know,
Right.
they're kind of, it's very much a separation. But, I mean, I think bottom line is, it may be something to consider, and you're right, this is not a one and done. If you say, hey, we have the flexibility to do Keeney Court, let's do it, you know? So,
If that's what I'm hearing from
Yeah.
the committee, I love the sound of what I'm hearing from the committee. I'm all in favor of making improvements that make our facilities look better. So if we need more, I'll talk with Mark, and if he sees any of these as more urgent than the others, then we can come back and revisit that.
all right, this is up for potential action. I will take a motion to accept the capital schedule fund balance request.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the fund balance request. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the request is agreed to. Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Moving on to the Sheboygan Theater Company financial report, and then the CRB financial report. We'll do them all at one, and then we'll approve them both.
So this is the first time you're seeing the financials for the Sheboygan Theater Company. We've moved 2023-24 into the left side, and we've moved 2022 to the right side of the chart. The new shows are viewed on the left side of the shows that the STC is doing. It's their 90th season, so that they felt they went big with their shows and their productions. So the costs are definitely a little higher than last season, and hoping on reflecting on selling more tickets for those shows on the right side with Little Mermaid done. It was a very well-received show in attendance and financially, so we did really well. So that is the updated report. Through September 30th, the total revenues are at 68,000. It's definitely more than was last year, and then the expenses are a little more than last year. And again, Tricia Roberts and the STC do a great job with keeping their things in their financial house in order also. So they're looking forward to a lot of really good shows, big shows that people are really, hopefully we're gonna get lots of attendance. The Ruth Kohler Foundation did up their annual donation to 10,000. So we know that 10,000 is coming in from Acuity. They've been very consistent, and now an additional 10, so that was a big change that we were happy to receive. And it's an annual, you have to ask, but they really are gonna just plan on giving it. So some really good things financially coming in in the donations and contributions for SDC also.
And the CRD report.
And just for the small stuff on the line 280 on the revenue side, we fixed that, what we added to the budget, so there won't be a percentage that's way out of order.
Thank you.
And then we talked with Wendy and Mark on the ESSER money, we're able to pull those kid stop expenses out of there, so you can see kind of apples to apples, how it's coming month to month and how much we're spending. So I thought that was important. I didn't want it bundled in with the rest of the salaries and the money. So you're seeing that on the expense side, line 200 to 165. And then similar to the rest of the SASD, our wages and costs and benefits have gone up, so our monthly totals are gonna be higher than they were last year.
Any questions on either the STC or the CRD reports? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to accept both reports as submitted.
So
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the reports are agreed to. And then finally, the facilities permit report.
And year-to-date, month-to-date through October, we're outpacing last year, and that's kind of how we just, all of our reports, we kind of comparing how we did last year, and we're definitely doing better this year. More monies have come in. Lots of good events happening. You can see above, so.
Okay. And that's for information only. Any questions? Thank you, John. We stand adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
You ready?
We certainly are.
All right, I'd like to call to order the committee of the whole. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Oh. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Roll call, find us all present with the exception of Mark Mansell. Next, I seek a motion to adjourn to closed session per Wisconsin State Statute, section 19.885, section 1, section C, to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call, starting with Rebecca.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Chair votes aye. So we will go into closed session. We will stay in this room.
Yeah, I was just,
Hey, you too, sir, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you said for sure. That it's smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. Somebody else has got